Gold Invest. Explore opportunity.
Today I'm talking to Glenn Jessome, CEO of Silver Tigre Metals here at Gold Invest. Glenn, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Sven, it's always a pleasure. It's been almost a month, I think, since we chatted, so I thought it'd be a great time. And we're in the lazy days of summer here in Canada. I'm sure you are over there, but, you know, the work goes on at El Tigre, and it's great to have a little catch-up here. I hope everybody, even on vacation or relaxing, gets a chance to catch up on our chat.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're here for. Just to give a brief update, Silver Tigre has just released some important updates on El Tigre project, mainly on the exploration side this time, where you're drilling the extensions of the historic El Tigre Mine to the north, but also for the first time to the south. I think that's what we should be talking about and focusing about. What's the significance of this exploration effort that you're currently undertaking, please?
Well, Sven, this was always the plan going back to 2017. We're very focused. Our management team, we've been in Mexico, as you know, our group for almost 30 years. And the first thing you got to do is get enough metal with an atomic test attached to it to build a mine. And if that's, we got 25 kilometers of trend. If that's 2 kilometers of the trend or 10 kilometers of the trend to make that happen, you do it. In our case, 25 kilometers of trend. Right in the middle of that was that old Tigre Mine. We all know how prolific that was. Drill under and around that, and it's going to go very well. Well, it went very, very well since 2017. We raised well in excess of $100 million. And think about this. In that 2-3 kilometers, right around that old Tigre Mine, right in the middle, the old-timers took 100 million silver equivalent ounces at 2.5 kilos. We have already put 100 million in the open pit, which they just used to walk on. We put 113 million silver equivalent ounces on the books underground, and our independent consultants in the PFS for the open pit said, just tighten up the drilling in that couple of kilometers, we'll give you another 73 to 100 million more. That's 400 million silver equivalent ounces under and around beside that old El Tigre mine. Incredible. Now that's enough. We're ready to build. We're permitted for the underground. PEA will be out in a couple of weeks. Number one, we'll build that underground pit we've been talking lots about. Look at the economics. Beautiful open pit, ready to go. Should have the permit very soon. We can talk about that at the end. Debt is ready. We're going to build that. Now what's next? We can't just sit in our hands and say, okay, we're getting ready to build. We're building camps. We're lining up the debt. We're finalizing the engineering for the open pit. We're delivering the PEA for the underground. But guess what? There's a lot more at Tigre. There's a lot more on that property. And this is the first and the team's so excited. 2 or 3 months ago, I said, 4 months ago, the plan now is head north for a couple of kilometers first, and then head south. And very, very exciting what we started to report in that press release, which you must have seen.
Yeah, of course. Basically, the way I read this is show the potential of this project, because right to this point, you've been focusing on making it happen, all focusing on starting production, getting into cash flow, which is on its way. But this drilling, to me, is about show how much potential there is, really, in both directions, right?
Great, great, great conversation. I'm going to share this, and I hate to drop names, but I've done it a couple of times. Eric Sprott is one of our biggest shareholders. Has been first in 2020 and came back in that last offering. We were on giving Eric a little update a couple of weeks ago. And I want people to understand, this is not me saying this. This is Dave Duncan, who is our VP Exploration. He's been all over the world for 50 years finding and building mines. And Eric quickly saw that we had 400 million right there, silver equivalent ounces. And of course, he put the question, not to me, right to Dave Duncan. And the question was, how much more can there be? And Dave said as follows. He knows this project. He's been every drill hole. He's been there since the first day with us. Dave looked at him and he said, it's like the old Bon Jovi song. We're halfway there. And that's what he said he sees already. He said, look, we've got 400 to 500 right around that mine. We know that. We've proven it. He said, north and south, what we know already, I think there's another $500 million. That's a lot of silver.
A lot of
forward-looking statement.
A lot of
that was a guy skilled in the art telling someone you don't kind of tell stories to, you give them what you think is the hard facts. So I'll share that here. So with all that potential, we got to get at it. We're going to the north and we're going to the south. I can talk about the north or the south. Where do you want to start?
Well, why don't we talk about that? But to me, showing potential is also directed to making us more expensive down the road, of course.
Exactly.
You don't want to be taken out at just being that, well, sizable but still limited producer. You want to show that this is a big chunk and very comparable to other projects in the area, even if not much bigger.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk about the north and south, but that's a good point. I mean, there has been, you've seen it since the fall with Claudia Sheinbaum's administration. Everything has been so much M&A. I mean, let's look since last year. Silvercrest, and these are similar sized projects to Tigre, even with the first stage of the open pit and the underground done. Silvercrest, $2 billion. Gatos, half of it, $1 billion. You saw Mag Silver, $2 billion to Pan American. Prime, we saw that transaction. You know, somebody laughed the other day, you go, Glenn, if this keeps up, you're going to be the last man standing. I said, wow, that'd be a great thing. But I agree with you 100%, Sven. We're not selling anything till we get this permit and we get this thing built. And then we'll see what our valuation is. We think that we're going to be way, way higher into those billion-dollar market caps forward-looking, because that's what our peers are, and they're the same as us. That's what they're getting rewarded for. So we get there, but let's think if a corporate did come along. You know, they'll buy your production. That's just the value on that. It's what it is. But what you might get a nice kick for is, you know, north and south, maybe they can find another 1 or 2 or 3 El Tigres over the next 10, 20, 30 years. So, yes, that's not why we're doing it, but of course it's going to be important. Why we're doing it is it's now time to do it. So we're going to go north first. Why we went north and why we're going south? You know, this whole deposit daylights for those 25 kilometers. So flip a coin. Do we go north or south? Tigre was that. As we look north, exact same thing happening there, Sven. 2 kilometers. Now, we've got another 6 or 7 kilometers up to the Polaris mine. Leave that alone. That's another big mine. We'll get to that in a year or two. But right now, just north, we had 4 major veins, the Protectora, the Fundadora, the Cayley, and the Benjamin, which we discovered. But we started looking at the records, and that Fundadora and that Protectora were mined. Same vintage, 1908, 1930. Now, another big American mining company in there had basically the North Grey mine. And they had a town, they had saloons, they had hotels, they had their own mill. So we said, let's get up there, and we're just doing rinse and repeat of what we did at Tigre. Get in, map it, sample it, go underground and sample it, and then once you understand it, put the drill rigs on it. So that's exactly what we're doing up there. The good thing we did up there is early when we get in there in 17, 18, look at that press release. We said this, you know, we couldn't help ourselves. Let's get a drill rig up there. We're kind of figuring where we're going to go. We're at the main mine. We're getting some drill holes there. We said, let's just go scout it out. We drilled some holes up there. They're in that press release. We repeated them. Incredible grade. Like, look at that, multi-kilo ore. So there were 2 mines there on those veins, and we drilled it, and it's there. So that's going to be exciting. 4th quarter, we should, if we have all the work done that I talked about, the drilling, the mapping, getting underground, and there's substantial underground. One of those openings, these are major underground openings, and there's a lot of them detailed in the press release. Go read that press release. We wanted that to be a little education for everybody. Make sure your listeners have that, Sven, because it's a real history of what was there and what we're going to do. But you got to read it. Some of these guys, this is not one of those ones where you can say, oh, I'm going to look at the first page and I'm going to look at the results. I'm going to tell you, if you're really serious about, as a shareholder of El Tigre, of Silver Tiger, or wanting to become one, that was laid out for you in 8 or 9 or 10 pages because it's really important. So people should read it. Now, that's the north. Can't wait to get there. You go south, 10 kilometers. So we've been down there. We call the north brownfields.
Yes.
That's brownfields exploration. We drill, it's there. The north, let's call it greenfields. Got there. The road access is not as good. We're building the road again and freshening it up. But 3 mines right on the trend. We had, and they're beautiful, La Mancha, El Toro, and basically Lluvia de Oro. Lluvia de Oro being the closest one to the Tigre Mine. What's really neat about these is there were substantial underground workings, each one of them. They were mines around the same time. we've got 400-meter drifts we've been in each of them. We've only sampled Lluvia de Oro, and we're getting, so you see the samples in there, some incredible grade on that. What's really neat about this, a little bit to the north too, but this whole trend down there is a continuation of that stock work that the Tigre pit is in, that surface where you have that large blowout of wide zones of mineralization. All of this is in that same structure. Potential down there maybe to find another pit or two. Early days, forward looking, but that's going to require the same exact thing at El Tigre. I think early 2026. Time we get the road in, and we got lots to do to the north in that new area. And then we're going to do the same thing, map it, sample it, get underground and sample it, LiDAR it. And then when you get a whole thing understood, we'll get the drill rigs down there. And I think it's going to be an extremely exciting information that's going to be able to be put to our shareholders and the market while we're building El Tigre.
How far away are those exploration efforts from your main?
So right in the main camp where all operations are, where the mine, the underground and open pit mine will start. Think about 25 kilometers of trend.
Yes.
Okay. The trend, which is the Sierra Madre. Right in the middle, that 2 kilometers, camp is there. Old Tigre Mine's there. That's where our mill will be. That's where our open pit will be. As you go north, a couple of kilometers, you hit the North Tigre Mine on those Protectora, Fundadora, Cayley, and Benjamin. Those are new veins we've discovered. There's the Polares Mine, which was a big mine at the time. We'll get to that. As you go south, probably 10 kilometers going south. Right at the very bottom of that is the La Mancha, which was a mine. About halfway up, or a third of the way up, you get El Toro, and then 3 or 4 kilometers south of the old Tigre Mine is Lluvia de Oro. That's the first one we come to. We've done some sampling there.
Albeit it's all early days potentially, but what I took away is that ultimately this is all stemming from one major geological event, the whole 25-kilometer. Maybe overprinted here and there, having different expressions, but with 3D modeling, with LiDAR, as you say, ultimately, eventually, not maybe in the next little while, but I would imagine that all these dots would be aligned at some point.
Well, you know what? That's a very good point. We should just touch on that. Very good questions, man. This is structurally controlled for that 25 kilometers.
Yes.
Okay. It's a north-south trend. It's just the Sierra Madre trend. It keeps going all the way to the bottom, pretty well to the bottom of Mexico. And it's where all these big silver mines have been found, state after state after state as you go south. So that north-south trend, you have crossing faults, which create areas where, like Tigre, we have many of those. But the layer cake geology is exact. And remember, all of this daylights. So it's not like you're looking undercover. You're not like you're drilling to find it. Along that whole trend, we see it. You can just see it at surface. It's the same geology, same basement rock peak, Precambrian granite, and then the next 500 meters, Tigre Formation, and then it's just all the same along there. So yes, it's one big system. A little different up, little different of a system when you get to the far northern end up at Polares I talked about. But everything we're talking about right now is geologically almost the same.
So I think that's really wrapping it up nicely. This is a longer-term exercise. There will be news releases about this in the next half year, then to a year, I guess.
No, I just want to put this in perspective. Our mine life for our little 2-kilometer area around is 10 years. And that will expand because we'll find more there. And remember, the pit is 9.6 years. But that's only 60% of the ore in the pit, so that will extend. Imagine now we're going out for kilometers of area. You'll be hearing drill results for the next 10, 20, 30 years from these areas. And my geologists, the young guys in Mexico, I'm dating myself. They like to tell me, Glenn, you'll be dead and gone, and we're still going to be drilling ounces off at El Tigre. But they're not joking. They absolutely mean that.
The thing is, I think this is not what you would start with because you don't know where to. But now we've had the started project, and now you can afford to expand. That said, do you want to give us the latest on the developments of let's say, permitting and so forth?
Oh, yes, we can. Just so people know, and we'll end with that, and it's all going very positive. So number one is things to look for, more results coming out from north and south. People love that. PEA for the underground, very excited about that. I tried to get it out the 1st of August. They always drag a little bit. That's weeks away. We're getting excited because what you try to do when you get that, it's a scoping study. It's a preliminary economic assessment. When you start looking at it, you see other things that you say, well, I always thought maybe I would build the underground portion after I got the pit done. Some things may come to fruition where you see some data after you do this economic assessment, say, well, maybe there's a way I can actually start my underground before the open pit's done. These are the things you fine tune. I'm giving people examples. It's not just like, here's the report. There's always different roads you can go, and you're trying to optimize before you put that report out, study what it's going to be. And that's where we are right now. It's just paper now. All the work is done. That's going to come. Permits. Look, back when AMLO, I told this to somebody the other day, when AMLO was, and he was the elected president of Mexico, he could say and have any administrative decisions he wanted to make. He had a very strong government. But it was very difficult for us when we were very much uncertainty with respect to would there be open pits, would there be more mining permits, none were issued. But we soldiered on. We raised over $100 million to get to the point that post that administration, we'd be ready to build. And then great respect for AMLO's administration. He did a lot of wonderful things for the people of Mexico. But we were one of those things that just didn't quite fit. Did I lose any sleep about maybe or not getting my permit during that? I really didn't, because I knew logically we would get where we needed to get. Well, of course you had to worry about it. You would not be logically considering what could happen if you didn't.
Yeah.
When I go to sleep at night, do I lose any sleep about not getting the open pit permit for El Tigre? No. Okay, no. It's only a matter of when we get it now. And these are very strong words I'm using. It's only a matter of when. And I think that from where I see looking in, it's very, very close. It's so close that, we think, and we have to make a logical decision, we're spending large amounts of money on final engineering, on having all the Caps Cassidys, the go-to-site WSP to do all the final work. We're spending that money. If we thought we weren't going to be in a position to build, we wouldn't be doing that. So we'll kind of put our money where our mouth is. Last thing I'll say, and maybe we haven't talked about this, but, there was a lot of press coverage, and this is, you could have seen it about a month or so ago, where there was a meeting held in Mexico City. Our representatives were there, as many other mining companies with foreign investment. And Marcel Abroad, who was the Minister of Economy, led that meeting. And it was very positive in that, we need to get our permits issued. We welcome the investment into the mining industry. It's strategically important to Mexico. And I think one of the quotes, and this was in the paper reported, so it's not me saying it, was that mining and investment in mining is very important to Mexico now.
Of course.
So that was great. And then there was a speech the president made, probably, it must be close to a month ago, just about mining. And it was extremely positive also. This is Claudia Sheinbaum. It was, we realize we're 6 years behind. We're going to try to catch up on that. What was really important for El Tigre, knowing we already have our underground permit, was that she point blank said that strategically, because of copper, because of the metals that we mine here, strategically they are very important, and they will need to be mined by open pit. And so basically confirmed there would be no ban. You probably read that press. And the last thing on that was, make sure these open pits operate at the highest environmental standards. We do that anyway, at the highest standards in the world. So very positive. We're looking forward to getting it very soon and getting building. In the interim, north and south, let's get at that because they're there. And that was always the plan. As soon as we were ready to build, to get at those. And the PEA, we got to finish that off too. So it's given us some time this summer to really get that done.
Thanks for taking the time, Glenn. I think the message is clear. You're getting the project advanced on one hand, but in parallel, you're also now unveiling the potential. And, I think it's really important for people to understand this is not only partly greenfield. Mostly it's looking where the old timers have already been mining, which is crazy.
They were mining there for no reason. And as you can see with the history at El Tigre, they only took the highest. They only took what we call a little bit of the eyes out of it. They left so much for us. 300 million silver equivalent ounces. They took 100. We'll see similar to the north and south.
Thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time again, Chet.
Thank you.